can't believe I lost to a Mustang.
Junk, 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 junk. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Yeah. Yes, I'm calling about the very large turbocharger that you have for sale. You still have it?
Yeah, bro.
Excellent. Can you tell me more about it?
Never been raced. Never been modified. Never been abused. In fact, you know what, bro? The turbo's never even been installed. It's new in the box. Why such a good deal? I just want to get rid of it, bro. I got a bunch of turbos to get rid of. Yeah, but it's perfect, bro. It's like new in the box.
What's up, everybody? I want to make this video today to help prevent you from making some of the same mistakes that I've made and not get burned buying a used turbocharger. Now keep in mind that the guy on the other end of the deal isn't always trying to burn you. He might just not be fully aware of what's going on with the parts he's selling. But I'm going to give you some tips in this video, some questions you can ask, and some photos you can get that will tell you a lot more about the turbo you're buying and help you make a more educated decision. Now, the seller's ad, of course, should give you a lot of information about the condition of the turbo, but here are a few things you can ask that'll help you get a better understanding of how much they really know about it. Ask them if they're the original owner of the turbo. You know, if it's a turbo that's commonly bought aftermarket, like the Garrett ball bearing turbos, ask if they're the original owner. They'll be able to tell you the whole history of the turbo. A lot of people buy turbos secondhand, and they don't even install them on their car, and they just go to resell them. They've never even run the turbo. Do they really know that it's in good shape? Another thing you can ask is if they've modified the turbocharger in any way. A lot of people put bigger compressor wheels on them and modify the compressor housings so they'll fit. Me personally, I have to drill out the holes on my turbine housings to fit the larger studs on my manifold. Now that in particular is not really a big deal because this will still go onto a manifold with smaller studs. But people do other things like port the wastegate and other various things to get them to fit their car or perform better. So it's just kind of something you want to know about before you buy it. A lot of people, even on a water-cooled turbo, will run oil lines only. They won't run it with the water cooling. The water cooling helps protect the CHRA from the oil basically baking inside of it. So it's just something to think about. A lot of times it's not a big deal, but a turbo that's been water-cooled its whole life, the bearings might be in better shape. One of the most important and common questions to ask about a turbo is how much shaft play does it have? There are two different types of shaft play. Radial, which is basically the up and down motion, and axial, which is the in and out motion. Ball bearing turbos and journal bearing turbos can kind of differ a little bit on this. Journal bearing turbos will typically have a little bit more up and down shaft play. You have to remember that once that journal bearing has oil pressure in it, it's not going to have as much play. Now axial play is bad on any turbo. You really don't want to have any. And as far as radial play on a ball bearing turbo, they'll usually have just a click. Keep an eye on this gap here between the compressor wheel and the CHRA. That's normal shaft play for a ball bearing turbo. Another thing is how freely the turbo spins. A journal bearing turbo should spin very freely with no resistance and feel really smooth, and a ball bearing turbo should spin really freely like this. Absolutely no graininess at all when you spin the wheels. Another thing you need to be concerned with is the condition of the wheels, both the compressor wheel and the turbine wheel on the exhaust side. It's easy to take a quick glance at the turbo with the housings on and say that the wheels just look great. But sometimes upon closer inspection, you'll see that's not the case. Now on the compressor wheel, the tip of the wheel and this leading edge here is actually what will wear out first if the turbo has been run without a filter or with a bad air filter especially. Even with the compressor housing on, if you get a really clear focused picture with good lighting, you can easily see the condition of both the primary and secondary blades in there. The turbine wheel is a little bit more tricky. It's easy to take a look at this thing and it looks completely perfect, but you have to remember that this is where the exhaust is exiting the turbine. Where the exhaust is coming into the turbine is actually buried deep in the housing, but if you look really close and get a good picture, you can actually see the tips of the turbine wheel. Switching over to my phone here so you can see deep down into the turbine wheel. If you look closely, you can actually see the tips of the turbine wheel inducer, and that is what's most likely to get damaged first. Let me show you some pictures of a recent turbocharger I bought with a damaged turbine wheel. One more thing you want to ask the seller about the turbo is, are there any cracks? And the most common ones are in the turbine housing, and they're usually right between the turbine outlet and the wastegate port. So maybe get a good picture of it, ask the seller to double check to see if there are any cracks. Alright guys, well that's all I got for you on how to buy a used turbocharger. If you found this video helpful, let me know down below in the comments section, drop a like on it, and don't forget to subscribe for more Miata content, turbo content, car content, who knows, I don't even know what's coming up next, but it's going to be fun, I guarantee it. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one.